company that she has developed and designed, and can tell us with her experience what she does with Google, how to perfect what you're doing on Google, how you're doing with graphic design, making great graphics for your presentations, for your social media, I believe, maybe a little bit more of that. But Janelle is a newer transplant to Raleigh, if I'm correct in saying that, and can kind of, like many of us, have obviously not grown up here, not from here, and kind of integrated into the climate and become what we know as Raleigh today. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Janelle. Janelle, if you guys have any questions in between and for the presentation, enter it in the chat box there. We'll monitor that. And at the end, we'll give opportunity as well for questions. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Janelle.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Casey. She's a friend of mine all the way in Colorado. So, but Google is everywhere. So it benefits everybody. Let me share my presentation for you. If you haven't already downloaded the PDF that was linked in the email, the presentation looks exactly like the PDF. And so we're just going to kind of go through it, and then you're going to have it for your reference within that PDF or a bunch of links. So it just makes it super easy to click. So let me figure out Zoom, because it's been a year in the pandemic and I'm just now figuring it out. And then we do this and this, and there we go. So good morning. Today we're going to be talking about Google My Business as a tool and how you can use it as a small business owner. This is what we are going to cover. We're going to talk about what it is, how to leverage it, why you want to be on Google My Business, and then once you set up your profile, what to do with it. And then at the end of the day, hopefully you will be able to effectively leverage Google My Business for your small business. So hi again. I'm Janelle. I am a local Raleigh branding photographer. I'm also an Army veteran and a military spouse and a mom. And while I am a photographer by trade, I have been forced into the marketing role of my business, like I'm sure most of you guys have found yourself too. And along the way, I've found what works, what doesn't, and what's worth my time. And Google My Business is one of those tools that definitely works. It is a big tool with big results, but it requires very little energy, which is good because most of us don't need more things that take up our time. So what is Google My Business? We've all seen it. We've all been consumers on the Google search engine tool. And so we've seen the results of a Google My Business profile. But what is it? Well, what it is, it's our way as small business owners to manage our online presence on Google. It just, you know, in the big monster of Google algorithms, the Google My Business creates its own little database of information. So when it's running its mathematics, it's pulling from Google My Business. And as small business owners, we know that SEO is super important. It is the giant monster. And really, we just want to be in as many databases as possible so our customers can find us. So this is basically the how of Google My Business that we're going to cover in depth as the presentation goes on. But when you're using Google My Business, what it provides for you is one spot for you to share information about your business, engage with your customers, and then send them updates on your business. All right, so why should you be using it? Well, Google My Business essentially legitimizes your business. When you come to Google as a customer, Google is a very reliable, it's a very trustworthy source. So when you see a business that has a complete Google My Business profile, you tend to kind of transfer that trust from Google into that business. So having a profile helps bring legitimacy to your business. And Google My Business was designed for local SEO. And as a local business, this is super important for us. So basically what the Google My Business profile does is it feeds into that search engine when people are doing queries like bakery near me or Raleigh graphic designer. And this is why it's so important. It was designed for these local SEO searches. also, you can have a Google My Business profile on the internet without even knowing it, without even having it, you registering it. And so instead of having your business floating around in cyberspace without you having any control over it, register your business so that you have control over what your business looks like on Google. Oh, and it's free. It's totally free. So there's like 0 reasons not to use it. All right, so the first thing you got to do is register it. It's really super easy to do. Just Google it and you'll find out how to do it. In your PDF, there's a link there that takes you directly to the Google My Business registration page. You click Manage Now. It's linked through the business. If you've got a Google email, it's all linked through that profile. You follow the prompts. It's very intuitive. When you're picking the category of your business, this is super important. Make sure that you're choosing a category that's very accurate and detailed to what you do. Like, this is how Google decides which customers should see your listing. The verification part of this takes a little bit more time. It's usually done through the mail. They send you a card with a code. You enter it in, and then bam, your business is registered. It's also important to know that you do have to enter in an address to complete your profile, but you can hide that from your customers. So if you're not a business that has people come to you, then you don't have to show your address so people don't, click directions to your house. And again, because you're showing up on a platform that people are familiar with and that they trust, they're more likely to transfer that trust to your business. All right. So setting up your profile, it's very intuitive. It's very self-explanatory. It's going to take the most of your time as a Google My Business profile owner. This is where the bulk of your time is going to be set, just setting up your profile. So let's go through all of the different parts of it. Again, it's very self-explanatory. If you've ever filled out a form on your business, you already know how to do this. The most important thing is to add in as much detail as possible. So let's go, I'm going to show you mine. This is your Google My Business home page, and most of the information that you're going to populate is going to be in this info tab right here on the left. And it's, you're going to go through and everything's going to look really, really simple, very easy. You've got your address, which again, you can hide. You've got service areas. So if you're not in if you don't have like a store front, but you provide a service, you can list the different areas that you provide service to, your store hours, which you can update. Right here is your More Hours tab. These are things like your happy hour or safe shopping for elderly customers. And you have special hours. And this might be closings for holidays or you go on vacation. Phone number and website are self-explanatory. This right here is your website identifier. And this is what shows up on Google Maps. So you just want to make sure that it's simple, it's easy, and it identifies you easily. Google My Business also has a built-in appointment application that you can use, or you can just link in your Calendly, that word, and Acuity, or anywhere that you want people to go to schedule appointments with you. You can list products here, and we're going to talk about that later. And then you've got your services. And I want you to think of your services as a keyword list. Think of, as get into the SEO mindset when you're building your profile. You want it to be accurate. You want it to be detailed. Think about what people might be typing in to try to find your business. Another thing that Google My Business does is it identifies you with attributes such as veteran-led, women-led, or Black-led. And those are the only 3 attributes that Google My Business has right now. But that also feeds into Google searches. So as people are typing in, woman-led bakery or Black-owned car dealership or, whatever business they are, because we're, that our culture is changing, we want to be supporting these types of businesses. Having this listed in your Google My Business profile will help people find you in that way as well. You've also got accessibility here, and that's which is, handicap parking, can, a handicap wrap, that kind of thing, as well as if you can speak a different language. Maybe you want a bakery that speaks Spanish in Raleigh. You can add the different languages that your employees speak, and so people know that you're the business that they're looking for. Finally, down here, you've got this description box. This right here is 750 characters, and you need it to be keyword heavy. We want phrases and keywords that people are actually going to be typing in. Google loves that description box right there. If you're moving, down here, you can add a date of, your opening date. Let's say you're moving to Texas and you want to, start building your SEO in the Texas area. You can put down here opening on, August 6, 2022, or whatever it is. So people know that you're not in the local area quite yet. Okay. Let's go back here. And this is all the little boxes that we talked about, and all of this is in your PDF too, and it kind of walks you through it. All right, reviews. Reviews are a huge part of Google My Business. And, as a consumer, we've all used reviews to make decisions, whether to hire a service, to purchase a product, or to go to a business. This is the social proof part of your Google My Business, and it holds a lot of weight on what people are going to do next once they find your profile. And so it's really important to get people to come directly to your Google My Business to leave their reviews. I always ask clients, I always send them a direct link to Google. And this is where if they're going to leave a review in one place, Google is where I want it to be. And then it's also really important that you reply to the reviews in a timely manner. It doesn't have to be right away, but maybe, once a month, once a week, once a quarter, go through and hit replies to each of those reviews, good and bad, but especially the ones that are, the 1 or 2 stars, heaven forbid we ever get those. Customers are going to want to see how you're addressing that. And in Google My Business, we're going to talk about it later. They have notifications that you can set up so that when reviews do pop in, and you can respond to those right away. Finding where to leave a review on Google can be a little bit tricky as a customer. So from your home page, if you see down here at the bottom here, there's a little box on your home page in your profile that sends a link, that has a link directly to the form. And that's the link I always send to customers. It's also important if you're just setting up your Google My Business to contact those past customers and clients and say, hey, do you mind clicking this link and leaving a review? And then my favorite part, the photos. The photos, we are a very visually driven culture. And so having photos in your Google My Business profile is super important, and Google rewards those with people with rewards profiles that have a lot of different photos in it. And if you think about it, when you're searching for a new business to go visit or, to contact, if their Google My Business or if their profile doesn't have any photos, it feels abandoned, it feels incomplete. And you don't want people to think that you are, not in business anymore, or that you aren't putting effort into your online presence. So reassure them that you're alive and well with lots of wonderful, beautiful photos. There are several categories that you can put photos in. Let me show you here, down here in the photos. You've got photos here that you've uploaded, and these are, your branding photos, pictures of products, your headshots, your team photos. These photos here by the customer, if someone leaves you a review, they can upload photos. These are gold because now the customer knows that you haven't curated this perfect compilation of images. These are coming directly from customers. You can upload video. I don't have any video here. And then this got misplaced here, but you can put in interior photos of your store, exterior photos of your store, and that just helps people who are coming to your storefront know what your place looks like. And it's important to keep these up to date in case things change. You can have photos of you at work. These are like your behind the scenes, and then also members of, or photos of your team members. The last category is the identity. You're allowed one cover photo and one logo photo. Your logo is used as your profile photo, and your cover here is what's shown when at the top of your box. So it's the first photo that anybody sees. So you want it to be the best photo that you have that kind of gives a lot of information about your business and a general feeling of what you want them to see. 3 photos in each category, the interior and exterior ones, Google recommends. And then as far as the owner photos and the client photos, the more the merrier. Like I said, Google will reward you when you have more photos. It's also really important how you're naming your image files. And this is for SEO in general, when you're uploading photos onto your website and then also into Google My Business. So search engines can't read a photo. So it's really important in the meta tag or in the file name that you're very descriptive about what the photo is about. Think about keywords and phrases that people might be Googling, you know, Raleigh branding photographer, or North Carolina graphic designer, things like that. You know, you want to get kind of creative when you think of how people might be searching for your business. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then it's also important when you're naming your images to use dashes in between the words. Google does not read spaces, and Google does not read underscores. So if you have, say, Raleigh space branding space photographer, it smashes all those letters together, and now it's not a real word anymore. And that does the same thing with underscores. It totally removes the underscores and smashes all those characters together. So now you don't have actual words that it can pull into a query. But Google does read dashes. So that's a general SEO rule when you're naming your files, is to use the dash. Right. If you're a business that sells products, Google My Business actually rewards small businesses by making this products feature available to them for free. The larger businesses, Home Depot, Barnes and Nobles, they have to pay for ads in order to showcase their products, but small businesses don't. So in your products, you're allowed to feature collections of products. Google recommends 3 products per category, and you want to make it rich text with keywords, things that people are going to be searching for. And then you also want to include a photo and a call to action. And just as a consumer and someone who uses Google, when someone clicks on a product, link it directly to the product on your website, not to your homepage. That's annoying to have to find that product a second time. All right, let's see here. All right, so you've set up your profile. You've got photos, you've got products, you've got all your business information listed in there. So now you've got to use it. But I've got good news. It's not as intensive as a social media marketing plan where you're posting every day and you've got engagements and you've got to worry about all this other stuff. But Google My Business does have posts. Posts on Google My Business work much differently than social media, and you don't need to do it as often. In fact, you probably shouldn't, because it should only be things that are tied with a call to action. There are limits to the types of things you can post about. They've recently, within the last year, added COVID-19 updates. So any kind of safety updates are super important to be sharing with your customers. They want to know that you're doing everything to keep them safe. You can add in updates. This is maybe you've added a team member or a new service or a new product. Maybe you've just opened your storefront back up. These are the kind of things that you add into your update posts. You can also add events, and these work a lot like the Facebook events. Maybe you have live music coming up or a workshop that you're hosting. This is what's going to go into these event posts. And then you have your offers, and this can be a special offer that you offer to customers who find you on Google. You know, mention that you found me on Google and save $100 on, you know, whatever. Posts are only 300 words of text, includes a photo or a graphic, and a call to action button. So you always want to add those things. You want it to be something that encourages people to click on a button. All right, insights. So Google My Business has an insight feature. It's not as robust as Google Analytics, but it's also a lot simpler and a lot more straightforward. In the insights, some of the most important things you can see are how people are finding you, where they are finding you, whether it's on the map search tool or in the traditional search engine, and then what they do after they find your listing. And so let's look at this here. To insights. Another thing to note is that Google My Business only keeps data for 90 days. Some stats are only good for a month. So it's not as robust as Google Analytics, but it's a nice starting point. You'll see that Google is going to tell you how people are finding you. So according to Google, there are 3 different types of searches. There's direct, people who are searching you by your names. So you type in shop local Raleigh because you want to find their website. That's a direct search. Discovery are people who find you through keywords, you know, a category. Maybe you're typing in small business programs in Raleigh. That's a discovery post when you find the shop local Raleigh listing. And then there's branded, and those are customers who are searching for something else, but then you popped up also. So maybe I typed in Raleigh Chamber of Commerce, and then shop local Raleigh showed up in that listing, and that's tagged as a branded post. And what you're going to find is that discovery posts are going to dominate your insights, which only reinforces the use of really robust SEO across your SEO strategy. You're also going to see where people are viewing your listing. Are they finding it in search, or are they listing it on maps? So today, when I wanted to get to the shop local Raleigh business, the store, I went into Google Maps and I typed in search local or shop local Raleigh. It popped up their listing, and I clicked on find, get directions. And that's when that's going to pop up. So if you're not a place that people go to, you're probably not going to see much on that listing for maps. And then you're going to see what people do after they see your listing. Do they visit your website? Do they request directions? Do they call you, or do they send you a message? Now, the direction requests and the phone calls, this data right here is going to be super helpful when you are targeting your ad campaign. So let's go back here. So with the directions request, you're going to be able to see where people are, where they're getting directions from. So if you are seeing a lot of people from Holly Springs clicking get directions, well, now as you're building your targeted ad campaigns, you know that you've got a lot of people in Holly Springs that are your ideal customers. So now as you're developing those ad campaigns, you can target areas. And then the same thing with the phone calls. The phone call insight's going to tell you when most people are clicking the call now button. And those are when your people are online and looking for your business. So when you're targeting your ads, now you have a time frame that target your ads in. Like I said, Google My Business Insights isn't as robust as Google Analytics, so you still want to use both, but they are very straightforward. They're very easy to read. If anybody's dug into that Google Analytics website, you know that it is a beast to sort through. And then in your PDF on this page, you'll see some more links here to help you kind of get more in depth on your Google Analytics. And of course, there's an app for that. Google My Business does have an app for both Android and the iPhone. You can't do everything on it that you can on a desktop, but it is good for on the go where you want to change your store hours. Maybe you have to close early because of your kid got sick and you got to go home or whatever. And you can also reply to messaging. There's a built-in messaging functionality within Google My Business profile, and reply to reviews. All right, so now you've got everything set up and you need to make a plan. How do you use the tool? I personally, once a quarter, I mark it on my calendar. I create a notification in my Google Calendar to say, okay, today's GMB maintenance day. And then I have a checklist, which is also in your handout, of the things that I'm going to do. And again, like once a quarter, it doesn't require a whole lot. I'm going to go through and I'm going to reply to any reviews. Messages, you kind of want to put on notifications and reply to those right away. So you want to turn on the, part of your plan is to turn on notifications for your reviews and any messages that come in. You want to keep photos current, especially if you're a storefront and as maybe you get a lot of snow. And so your storefront looks different when there's a lot of snow on the ground. You update your photos so that people, have the most current information. Same with hours and closing, or closings that you might have. Maybe you're going on vacation and you don't want people to wonder why you're not replying to an email. Make sure all of those stay accurate. Plan your post, again, once a month or quarterly, only if you've got something good to share that can engage with your customers. COVID-19 safety, it goes without saying, anything changes, you're going to want to post that. Hopefully we're kind of coming out of that a little bit. I know before a lot of small businesses were updating their Google My Business profile when they had to shut down because of an exposure. And so that was an easy way to let people know, hey, we're not going to be here if you come to our business. And then review your insights. Again, that helps with your SEO strategy as well as your ad campaigns. Here's a few tips and tricks for using Google My Business. You can add a manager to your account, so you don't have to be the only one that does anything with Google My Business. Add team members to this so that they can update the hours for you. They can add photos and reply to any messages. Like I said, I create a reminder on my calendar so it dings once a quarter and says, hey, it's GMB day. And that way it doesn't kind of drop off your radar, because you don't have to spend a lot of time on it like Instagram or Facebook. Canva is a great tool. If you're not using it as a business owner, it's free, get an account. It's a great way to create graphics for your posts, because we don't always have an image that goes along with a post. But it's a great way to create on-brand graphics for those posts, and an easy way, it's a super easy way to resize those photos. So if you went back in the workbook, it's got the optimized size. You can create a document within Canva to that size, drop your photo in it, resize it, export it. You don't have to go through any kind of Photoshop craziness. And ask for reviews, build up that reviews, go back to past clients, and always ask your current and future clients for a review in Google. So, and when you approach your Google My Business account, the way that I approach it is I think of myself as a customer on Google searching, for a business to invest in. What do I expect to see? What do I want to see in order for me to, do that next step and click on that website? And so as a business owner, I think about what I would want as a customer and then provide that same experience for my, my customers. I want to see lots of reviews. I want to see some good pictures, and I want to see accurate and up-to-date information. There's nothing more infuriating than looking up on Google and saying that, the store says they're open, and then you drive all the way there and they're not. And so you want to make sure that all of your stuff stays up to date. Or worse, you say that you're closed and you're actually open, and then no one's coming because you forgot to update your hours. So here's that checklist I talked to you about. It's in your handout. You can print it out and just sort of, clip it to your calendar 3 months from now. And so when your Google My Business maintenance day pops up, you just check those off. You don't forget all the things you need to do with that. When you're ready to take it to the next level, I included some advanced resources for you to kind of up your GMB game. Google My Business does have a built-in website. It's very simple. most of you guys already have a website, but this, if you wanted to create a separate landing page for people to go to, they have that. It's free, but you do have to pay for the domain. Google My Business also has a marketing kit where they've created graphics and videos for you to use within your profile. And then of course there's Google Ads, which is a whole other class on how to use Google Ads to reach your customers. And then there's this little thing called the knowledge panel. And I know you guys have seen it when you've done searches, and maybe you search for Sean Connery or something, and the little box pops up on the side and it looks like a wiki page. That's the knowledge panel. And that's a whole other category that Google digs into when it's doing its queries. And so maybe your business could benefit from this. Not everybody qualifies for it, but it's just another way to get into the grips of the Google search algorithm. And all of these underlying things are all linked in there in your PDF. So, I talked about how Google My Business just lends to credibility and legitimacy of your business. Because we're so familiar with Google, what the Google My Business profile does is it puts all of the information that customers need to take an action right in a little box on a website that they're always on, and in a platform that they're familiar with. And so if you're not on Google My Business, it's super important to get there. As a small business owner, we all know there are lots and lots of moving pieces, a lot of things we got to do, all those things that we have to do to be successful as a business owner. Google My Business is one of those things that doesn't take a lot of time, but it can yield really big results, and it's free. And so, it's attached to the world's largest search engine. There's no reason that we don't want to use it. Like I said, it's free. Did I mention that it's free and it's attached to Google? So get on that. Here are all the resources I used to make this presentation. You can go ahead and click on all of these, or you can just refer to this PDF. And thank you. That's all I've got. Let's see if there are any questions. How do I don't know.
So it looks like there's one.
Okay.
Hold on.
So the question is, there we go. As a photographer, do I give clients instructions on posting photos to make sure they aren't later stolen or used by somebody without the rights? And that's going to be your own personal, as a person leaving a review. Oh, sorry, I got distracted, all the shiny things in the chat box. Are you talking about, Tara, are you talking about me posting client photos on Google in my profile, or them posting their photos?
A little bit of both. I'm always, and especially since I know you listed stock photography, I think all the pictures that I just set up my Google profile, and I'm like slapping myself because I've been in business for far too long not to have this set up. But so like the ones that I did are the web size watermarked. And generally I ask my clients, hey, if you're going to share on social media, use these, but also just knowing that, random people can find photos anywhere on the internet, use them, and they end up on a billboard or they're in an ad somewhere.
Right.
Just kind of just the privacy issue, I guess, and just the copyright issue.
Yeah, I mean, when, personally in my contract, I have, in the contract, it says that I'm allowed to use it for my own marketing purposes, which would be within Google My Business. And then of course, they're given a commercial use license so that they can use it however they need to for their business. As far as someone, stealing them, I think watermarking them, making them the lower web size resolution is going to deter most people. Because they're just not going to get, the watermark, who wants to kind of Photoshop that out. But there's always the potential. I think if you're going to have an online presence, there's always a potential that something's going to happen. And then you just need to do your due diligence to, keep up on it as best that you can, decide, if legal action is the course of action you want to take, or reaching out to that person to take it down. I think that kind of scenario, it just all depends on who it is and when it is and what it is. And, you know, there's no one size fits all answer, but I think watermarking is going to be, you know, that's going to deter the basic, you know, most predators, I would say. All right, so let's see here. Carolyn, is there any way to list hours by appointment only? Yes, so instead of putting hours, you can, on your listing, you can say that it's by appointment only and then put a link to where people can put those or to schedule that appointment. Thank you. I see often just Google Photos. What does that mean, Trish? I see.
Novices, people that are unaware of that there might be
proprietary information. I mean, there's not much we can do about the dummies, except, you know, protect ourselves as much as possible. You know, and I would use discretion too as a person, you know, as a business owner, uploading those photos. If you look at mine, most of them are of me. So I'm not, you know, if those photos get stolen, it's a photo of me and I deal with it and I don't have to worry about a photo of a client being stolen. If they upload them on their own, well, you know, I assume that most of the people that I work with have a level of common sense, knowing that once stuff is on the internet, it's on the internet, and there's a whole bunch of risk that goes with it. But yeah, you know, and you know, you can always educate your clients. I think that's the best, you know, educate your clients. If you want to have it in a contract, put it in a contract. But I think, you know, maybe I'm just too, you know, the good of people, to too optimistic person, but I feel like most people kind of understand the risks of getting on the internet. And then there are the bad people, and then there are the dummies, and those are the outliers, and we deal with them when we have to. And hopefully it's not a painful experience. All right. Yes, dashes. Yeah, underscores. I think I had read somewhere that underscores were the way to go. And then doing research on SEO, I learned that Google does not read underscores. And that is heartbreaking when you have to go back and rename all your files. But it's really, you know, if there are ways to like rename all your files at once. And so that's what I one day I just went through and renamed all my files. What a pain. All right. Will Google hide reviews if you get too many at once? I don't think so. I don't think that, you mean like if you, like in Instagram, if you have too much activity, they're like, oh, you're a bot, and they.
So this happened to me when I had my spa and I had like a Yelp page. I asked a bunch of previous customers for reviews when I first set it up. And I think I got, you know, 10, 15 all at once, and Yelp hid like 10 of them, because they were like, oh, you're getting too many all at once. So I was wondering if, you know, like if I ask my past photography clients for reviews, and, you know, there's however many of them, if I get too many at once, will Google like hide those reviews? Or should I space it out?
Maybe. I would look into it. I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thanks. I'll let you know though what I find out.
Thank you. I would love that. Are they downloadable, and they worth downloading to compare stats? You know, I don't think so. I personally would say no. I think that that kind of I guess analysis that you want to do with your stats should happen in your Google Analytics, because that's where you're going to get all the robust stuff. With the GMB Insights, it's just kind of like a quick. You said it's 90 days is the most that it holds it. So it's these quick snapshots, but I don't think you can do trend. I wouldn't use it for trending. I would use my Google Analytics for that trending stuff. So yeah, so Trish says that some review sites will flag reviews if it's looks like it's bots. So maybe don't like mass email out all of your past clients, maybe 5 a week, just to be like, hey, can you, And then, there's another practice for people, sometimes as a customer, we just don't know what to write in a review. And if you don't hear back from a client, like, that they had a great experience, why aren't they writing a review? Maybe they don't know what to write, or they just don't have time to really sit down and do a review to you justice. Send out a sample review. Hey, like, how does this sound? Like, does this sound like something that you would write in a review? Copy and paste it in there. And a lot of times they'll be like, yes, I totally agree with that. Thanks. People just don't have time. And so if you know that they want to give you a good review, you've got a client, they're just not responding, hook them up with a little copy and paste prompt. It works. All right, do you mind making a weekly post on Google? Get business. If you've got something good and worth it. So like, remember, Google is about SEO. It's about these keywords, right? And so if you've got something that, through your Google Analytics, through your insights, you've seen that people are Googling, maybe it's, for instance, this Shop Local Raleigh here is putting on a beer fest. And so that that you're going to be participating in this beer festival, put in an update on that, because now you're pulling in these search queries that are happening from another event too. And it's, it's bringing, search results to your business. So it's not like social media where you're posting and you just want to say, hey, I hope everyone's having a great day. Happy Friday, whatever it is. Like these posts are to, designed to engage and feed into those queries. And so as long as it's got a clear and actionable call to action, and it's full of those keywords that people are searching for, then yeah, post as frequently as you feel like you need. You can also expire posts. So if you want to post about an offer or an event, you can say that this post is going to expire, after the event is done. And then then you don't have old updates and information being pulled up in search. Like, no one wants out of date information on a business. And so make sure if it is not evergreen, that you put in an expiration date so Google stops showing it to people. But yeah, I mean, and your marketing strategy is going to depend on your business, what kind of information you want to put out there. It all just depends. But Google is it's not a social platform, it's a marketing and SEO platform. So use it in that way. All right, have I talked enough at you guys?
The knowledge panel.
The knowledge panel. Oh,
before the last one.
Yeah, in the knowledge panel kind of works a lot like a wiki page too. And so this, I would look into it, especially if you're providing information that people can use across their regular Google searches instead of just for a specific business. If you're providing kind of a wiki experience of information. And so, yeah, there's some few extra steps that you have to go into to get a knowledge panel. But yeah, if you've got the information, if you've got something that's worthwhile, then absolutely look into it. The more places you're on Google, the better. There's all these different repositories that they're pulling for queries, and you want to be inserted into as many as possible. Beat the algorithm. Hey. All right, what else did I miss? I didn't even take up my whole hour, and I thought I was talking forever. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Carolyn. I'm glad that you guys are getting stuff out of it. Make sure you download that PDF. All of the links that I had in the presentation, they're all hyperlinked in there. And then, yeah, if you've ever got any more questions, just let me know, or, Google it.
And Janelle, if you want to give us your contact information in the chat, so if people want to contact you or follow up.
Sure, I'll put it in the chat after I'm done talking because I can't talk and type at the same thing. I'm not that skilled. But I'm so glad you guys came and joined us today. I think that Google My Business is such a great tool, and it's one of the few ones that are 100% free and require very little energy, which, you know, no one needs more things to keep up with on their to-do list. But thank you so much for joining me today. I'll leave my information here in the box, and it was so nice to see you guys. Right.